Hi there, my name is David Batsoffen and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things. At the moment, I'm doing a series called In Conversation With. And today I'm in conversation with the young man that I met a while ago now at a now defunct comedy club or comedy venue in Linden in Johannesburg. That's Jermaine Mattroos. He made me laugh so much that evening, really and truly. Jermaine, how are you doing? Are you still laughing or has lockdown taken the laugh out of you?
I'm still laughing. I make sure I laugh every day. I make sure I laugh every day. I laugh at my own thoughts every day. I make sure I laugh.
You look at your bank statement, you laugh. You look at your mortgage payments, you laugh.
I look at my life, it's a joke. I laugh.
Look, I suppose the one thing that people can't take from us is a sense of humor. And even in these dark times, people are already finding humor. It may be a little bit too soon, but what the heck?
It's never too soon. If something is funny, it's funny now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Talk to me a bit about your career. I mean, I have to be honest, when we first met at what was a Muse Cafe, but it's not amusing anymore, literally and figuratively, the club is gone. I'd never heard of you, but I remember laughing like a drain that evening at your comedy. It is brilliant beyond belief.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
where did it come from? Are you sort of just a product of your environment, or did you study it, or are you just a natural?
I would say natural because I basically decided to do comedy in 2016. I was watching comedy on Comedy Central, and I saw some South African comedians. And I was actually sitting with a friend of mine, and he said to me, "You know what? You should have actually been a comedian because we were at school together."
Okay.
He told me because you were the class clown, This comedy is a thing for you, And I didn't think much about it then, but then like a couple of weeks later, I was watching comedy again, and I thought, hey, let me try it. Let me write some jokes. And then the first person I approached was Joe Parker.
Okay.
And Joe Parker told me, no, I can't just walk in there and come for an open spot. I need to send an email and all that, I met
all the paperwork first.
I met Martin Davis. He was hosting at Parker's Comedy Club, and he told me, no, go to the Goliaths, because they've got a small club in Maboneng. And I approached them at their club in Melrose Arch, remember?
Yes,
That's
they did.
also closed now.
Yeah,
I approached them there, and I wanted to perform there. I was ready to perform that night, and that I've never performed before then. And they said no, because it's Melrose Arch, it's upmarket. I can't jump on stage now there, but I can come to the box at Maboneng. Which is also closed now. To perform there the Sunday. I went through the Sunday. It was full. They told me there's no spot available for me. And I was full fired up, ready to perform, and I had to go another grueling week waiting for. So they said, come back the next week. I went back the next week. I got my first spot. Robbie Collins was hosting, I remember. And I got on stage at exactly 10 to 9 on the 20th of November. That was my very first time on stage. And that's when I realized this is for me, This is for me. Because the feeling you get from doing stand-up comedy is, wow, it's amazing. I miss it so much, David. I can't tell you.
Jermaine,
but that's how I started.
Okay, people who don't do it, two things happen when you step on stage. Either you're going to nail it and you come off and you're this far off the ground, you just float off the stage, or it goes horribly, horribly wrong. And then you dig a tunnel to get out of the venue so that you don't have to pass anybody and you can get to your car.
Especially comedians. That's true. That's true. No, when you kill it, you are on top of the world. When you die, you actually start questioning whether this is actually for you. You start questioning your choices. Is there another career choice you can choose? And the best thing for me to redeem myself after dying on stage is get on stage as soon as possible again. It's just to get your laughs back. And once you get your laughs and you kill it again, you'll feel good again.
Yeah.
But death can really make you, it can depress you. It can depress you.
Because back in the day, if you were a Johannesburg comedian that performed in Cape Town and vice versa, the audiences were totally different. So what got you laughs in Johannesburg might not work in Cape Town. And the Cape Townians, when they came to Joburg, they were the butt of every Johannesburg comedian's jokes because their stuff didn't work here either. It's changed somewhat in the last years, and the comedians can move, back and forth with ease, and their material doesn't work. But there's nothing worse, and I'm sure you found it, that you do work material that gets a laugh. And then on a particular night, maybe your timing is just a bit off, or maybe the audience is not quite in the right mood for that particular gag. And you do the punchline and you sort of go, ba-bam, and you wait for the laugh. And there's nothing.
And it doesn't come.
They just look at you as if you've been speaking Serbo-Croatian. They don't understand a word you've just said.
Now, that's happened to me. That's happened before. What also can contribute to a death is when you're not feeling nervous.
Yeah.
When you feel nervous, that's a good thing. A lot of comedians, they hate it. I hate it as well, but it's necessary. Because I remember once I performed at Hard Rock Cafe, Mamzi's gig and I think that was maybe my 6th or 7th performance. And I was confident, I thought, I've done the set a few times now and I've killed every time, So I got this, I wasn't feeling nervous. I didn't feel nerves, nothing, I got on stage with confidence, I died a horrible death, I tell you. I died horrible. So that's when I realized, to feel nervous is a good thing. The more nervous you feel, the better you can perform, actually.
Well, this is it, because those comedy gods don't smile kindly on you if you step on stage feeling cocky, because they can cut you down to size very quickly.
Very quickly. I learned the hard way.
Jermaine, tell me about Jermaine at school. What were you like?
Like I said earlier, this friend of mine mentioned that I was class clown, I didn't really like school, the studying part of it, to be honest with you. I liked the friends, the entertainment, I think I was always an entertainer, because I would always think of funny jokes or tease my teachers, have relations with my teachers where we joke with each other and tease each other, that kind of thing. So I was always that kind of guy at school, dancing and singing and those kind of things. Look, I'm not much of a singer now, but those kind of things. I was always an entertainer. I've always wanted to be an entertainer. Yeah.
So when you finished school, did you have an idea that did your parents say to you, listen, you've got to get a proper job. You can't just go and be an entertainer. That's not a life for a young man like yourself. Or did you just...
Yes. Yeah, so that was definitely the case. I grew up in Erlos, and my father was the only one, was the breadwinner in the house. My mother was a housewife. So obviously, and we were 4 children. So money was scarce, There wasn't always money. So I was pushed. When I finished school, I was pushed. I must get a job so I can start working, and contributing to the house. And I've always wanted to be an actor, because I used to do drama at school as well.
Okay.
So I wanted to be an actor, but there was never money for me to go and study this thing, I just needed to get a job and start working. And I thought, okay, when I get a job, I'll take myself through this thing, But once you're a young man and you start working and you got the money now, you start thinking about clothes and cars and all these material things. I forgot all about my dreams,
Yeah.
So and I basically worked for 25 years. I worked in call centers and back offices and stuff like that, Jobs that I never really enjoyed, but because it was paying the bills, I had to do that, Yeah. But entertainment that's where I want to be. That's where I want to die in the entertainment industry.
Because you can't really be an entertainer in a call center. I know, I love it when you have to phone a call center and that the people on the other side are reading from a script because they have to. And then you ask them a question, a simple question that isn't on their script, like, where are you based? And then sometimes they'll say, like, Cape Town, you go, so what's the weather like today? And it's not on their script, and you can hear the panic in their voice because they don't know what to say to you. And often they'll just go, well, you called about the following. And I'm like, no, I want to know what the weather's like in Cape.
Yeah. Yeah, they will just have to stick to their jobs,
Yeah.
do their jobs, you're right.
So did you have no creative freedom with what you were doing in the call centers?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, the call center, you like a robot. You go and you do the same thing every day, basically, you know. So there was no room for that.
Did you base your comedy, or do you base your comedy on your work experiences and maybe some of the callers that called you?
Yes, I do have some material based on that. And basically, all my material is based on my life experience, you know. I always try to add some truth in there, you know. So it comes off more convincing, you know, and it's easy to remember the material if I extract it from true experiences, you know. Just embellish it with some funniness. Yeah.
Because sometimes stuff happens and you use it in a set and people go, that never happened to you. And you go, yes, it did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Your best and worst gigs, Jermaine?
My best, I would say, performing at Parker's Comedy Club, you know. That's one of the oldest and comedy clubs and best known comedy clubs, you know. And to get Joe Parker come to me and say, you know, that I remember we were doing a competition. It was the Grab the Mic, the Kamikaze competition. I came second, and he came to me after the show and he said, you know what, I consider you a professional now, you know.
Yeah.
You can't perform open spots anymore. You need to get paid to come. And that felt so great, you know. That felt amazing.
Yeah,
and my worst would be that one I told you about, the Hard Rock Cafe one, where I died. That was my worst.
Also, if you perform sometimes at either a charity or event, or if you perform for a corporate, they expect, because they've paid you, and sometimes it's big money for corporates, they expect to be entertained. They don't necessarily want to be giving as an audience. They just want you to make them laugh.
Yeah.
And if the boss isn't laughing, then the rest of the staff don't laugh. And then your evening degenerates into virtually begging the boss to laugh so that the rest of the audience can have fun.
Yeah, they need his approval to laugh. Yeah.
So how have you been keeping yourself busy during this lockdown period?
Basically, I've been working with another comedian, Wazim Hughes, and a videographer, Riyad Hassan. We've been shooting some skits for online. You know, they post it on YouTube and social media and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I've been basically working on. There was something last year I had a program I wanted to work on for schools, you know, like educational comedy shows for schools.
Right.
And then like the week before, I had everything ready. I was going to approach the schools and to get this thing off the ground, you know. And just a week after I decided to do that and threw up everything, then it was lockdown. So I couldn't do anything. You know. Yeah, I mean, that was this year. This year.
Lockdown has no sense of humor. I've come to realize that.
I'm telling you, it's killing us. It's killing us. We can't do anything.
And doing it online, I mean, I've interviewed a lot of comedians since In Conversation With started. All the Goliaths that I thought were all related, and they're not. Or two of them are cousins. The other one just happens to be a Goliath, and a variety of others. And they've all said the same thing to me. It's very difficult to do comedy online. I mean, if you're teaching something, if you're teaching art, for instance, you can do that online because you can say, this is a pen, this is a piece of paper, this is how you make a mark. But to do online comedy is really taxing because you've got no audience. It's just you and a camera. You know,
exactly.
if I said to you, tell me a joke, and I didn't find it funny, I'm going to have to laugh anyway, because otherwise you're just going to turn off your camera and go and sit in a corner, you know?
For sure. Yeah. The online thing is not, for me, it's kind of boring, you know, because like as a stand-up comedian, you feed off the crowd.
Yeah.
You know? You feed off the facial expressions and the laughter you get from the crowd. But if you're standing in front of a camera, like we're doing now, and I'm doing stand-up, it's just not the same. the same. Like I saw some these online comedy shows that they'll have hosts that will host the show, then they'll have comedians come on, then there'll be laughter edited in for the host, but then the comedians come on. It's just quiet. Watching this guy do jokes, and it's not entertaining at all.
It's not, because for people watching, that laughter actually makes it. I mean, aside from the American TV series where it's canned laughter, and you know it because you hear the same laugh in the same spot for 28 minutes, and okay, they've used a loop track. But with this, you need that live. I mean, I'm watching a series at the moment called Dry Bar Comedy. It's from a club in Utah. And in fact, I'm interviewing one of the comedians soon. And there's no alcohol and no swearing. And the comedy is so funny, Jermaine. But there is an audience. This is pre-lockdown. Most of them are sort of February, early March in America. And it's really, really funny. And you know as well as I do that if your comedy doesn't rely on bad language, it's a lot funnier sometimes. I mean, you can throw in the odd cuck or something. Cuck seems to get a laugh. I don't know why, but it does. There are other words which I don't know who's in the room with you, so I don't want to use rude words.
No, I'm alone.
Okay. But there are words that get people laughing, and you only need to use them once. But I hear what you're saying. But by the same token, and I'm sure you've played venues like this, when I started doing stand-up, I started out at the Punchline Pub, which is long before your time. It was at the Civic Theatre. And my first night, there were 4 people in the audience, one of whom was Mark Banks. And Mark was already a friend. And you came on from behind the stage, but you stepped off the stage and back into the audience. And then you went to sit down in the audience and watch the next comedian. And Mark was clapping like... when I stepped off stage, it was almost a standing ovation from Mark. And as I walked past him, he went, "David, you stepped off that stage really well."
That's hilarious.
I thought, thank you, Mark. As only Mark can do. If you've ever worked with him, you know what he's like. He's off the wall.
Mark is funny. Mark is hilarious. He
But
just
Mark
says something off the bed.
Yeah, Mark is scary to work with because you don't know. You know, he's like a child that's opening and closing drawers or cupboards, and you never know what he's going to find.
He's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to say or do next.
Try interviewing him. That's even worse because I've done it on several occasions. He goes off at a tangent, starts talking about stuff you didn't even ask him questions about.
Unrelated stuff, I know.
Totally unrelated. Do you have favorite comedians that you've worked with in the past and you'd like to work with again?
I've worked with Dylan Oliphant. I've worked with John Flismus. They were awesome to work with. I almost worked with Joe Parker, but that didn't happen. But those are my favorite comedians. Some of my favorite comedians. There's plenty of them. My ultimate favorite comedians overseas is Jamie Foxx. I'd love to meet him and work with him. And he's amazing.
Who would you like to open for aside from Jamie? Let's take him out of the picture because we now know he's your best. But if a producer phoned you up and said, "Listen, Jermaine, we saw you in conversation with. We think you're very funny, and we'd like you to open for," who would that person be?
A South African or
doesn't
international?
Matter. You can make the choice.
Martin Lawrence.
Okay. Oh, good choice. Good choice. Years ago, I saw John Flismus open for Jimmy Carr. Now, I'd only seen Jimmy Carr on panel shows on British television, where he's quite reserved. And John, as you know, in his heyday, was off the wall. I mean, if you were if you could at all be offended, John would offend you somewhere in his set. And I was there as part of a press group, and I turned to a buddy and I said, does Jimmy Carr know what John is doing on stage? And Bruce said to me, have you never seen Jimmy Carr's live stuff? And I go, no. He goes, wait, you're in for a treat. And Carr came out, and he was worse than John.
Than
And,
John, yeah.
Yo, when I came out of there, my eyes were like saucers.
I love Jimmy Carr as well. I love Jimmy as well.
I'm sorry, I can't. Maybe my tastes have changed, and I'll pin my colors to the mast. I can watch him as a quiz master, but I can't watch his stand-up. I find him rude. I find him sexist. I find him all the things that I don't like about men anymore.
And you mentioned that you do. Do you still do stand-up yourself?
I haven't for a while, Jermaine. I did one of those comedy gigs, those comedy competitions at Parker's, and didn't make it through. I had a really crappy set that night, and I did one particular gag, and I saw two people, and you again know this. The room can be full of people laughing. There's one person that doesn't laugh, and that's where your eye goes. And the whole time you're trying to perform to that person to make them laugh at you. And if they don't, your set goes downhill very quickly because you think the room is laughing. And that's what happened to me that night. There was a couple sitting in the front, and I did a gag, and I just saw the woman go, the eyes roll to the ceiling, and I thought, uh-oh. And instead of just ignoring her, I tried to make it up, and it didn't work. And when I left, I now experienced that thing. I'm David. You've been an audience. Thanks very much. Cheers.
No, that's something I've experienced as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to please someone. You forget there's so many people laughing at your joke. You know, but you're seeing this one or two people that are not. You know, and it's actually happened to me in the past. Where it's actually thrown me off. You know, where actually I forget what I want to say next. You know. And I have to jump to another set or something, or walk off stage like you did.
But you know, the funniest thing, Jermaine, and I don't know if it was the night that you were at Amuse, but I had an incident there when I was before I got on stage. There was a table down front, and they were rude and they were heckling. And I thought, all right, I've got this nailed because I've got a whole lot of stuff for you people. You want to fight back? Watch this. And as I got on stage, they all got up and left. I had nothing. There were no hecklers. The audience, nothing. There were like 3 people in the audience, 2 of whom were friends.
And how did the set go then?
No, well, the set.
And how did the set go after that?
The set sort of was okay, but I built myself up. I thought, no, I'm going to fight back because there was a woman at the table and she'd been fighting with all the comedians up until that point. And I had some nice stuff planned for her. And then, lo and behold, they got up and left. And I wanted to chase them into the car park, going, you can't leave. I need to heckle you.
Come back.
Come back.
Yeah. No, I don't think I was there that night. Because I haven't seen you perform yet. I haven't seen you perform.
All right, so should I do it for you? No, I'm not doing it now.
The next stand-up show, you're going to be there.
The next stand-up show. Have your siblings, are your parents still alive, Jermaine?
My mother's still alive. My father passed in 2010.
Did either of them see you on stage?
Yes, my mom is, yeah.
Okay.
My mom. I started comedy way after my father died, yeah. Okay. So my mom is, yes.
Yeah. And your siblings?
Yes, they have as well. They've seen me perform as well. They when I have my own shows, they normally come to support.
My parents came to one of the shows I did at a place called Hysterics, which was at the Randburg waterfront. Again, I think before you started. And I opened with a particular gag. And I could see my mother's look of disapproval because it mentioned male genitalia. And afterwards, she said to me, did you have to start with a penis joke? And I said, well, advertising always pays, you know. If you've got it flaunted, and if you haven't, pretend.
Yeah, no, with my mom as well, you know, I told my mom before she came to see me perform, I told already, Ma, you're going to hear things here that you're not used to hearing me saying, you know. I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to say what I want to say. But she's very open about it, you know.
Yeah.
She's very open. She enjoyed the show. And, you know, my material is, I use some vulgar language sometimes, and I speak about things, sex and all that. But my mom was open to it, you know. She said she loved it. You know?
That's so cool. The other thing that's happened to me, and I don't know whether it's happened to you, it happened at Hysterics, one of my early sets there. We used to run from the bar area down some steps and then up onto the stage, which was just a little raised platform, much like Parker's is. And I caught my foot on the edge of the stage as I put my hand out for the microphone. So as I took the mic, I landed on my face. And the entire audience sort of went, and the tears were just there because I hurt myself and I was winded. And I sat on the edge of the stage and I took a moment and I sort of looked at the audience and I went, you know, I've been practicing that all week and I still haven't got it right. And after that, Jermaine, I could have read them the phone book for the next 15 minutes and they would have laughed at names. And I don't know whether something like that has happened to you where you've walked on stage or fallen and then been able to draw the crowd, get the crowd on your side. And after that, it's one of those sets that you'll never forget.
No, that hasn't happened to me yet. Something like that. But you've given me an idea when it does happen. I know what to do when it does happen.
But it was so. I've got news for you. If I'd planned it, I couldn't.
Okay, I'll try not to get hurt. Though.
Yeah, try not to get hurt.
To hurt myself.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to damage the microphone. You've got to hold the microphone up when you fall. So you can turn around and point at the mic and sort of go, see, didn't break the mic. Me, I'm a wreck.
I'll do that. I'll remember that.
Now that things, you know, our president, you know, Mr. My fellow South Africans, and with immediate effect, we're in level 2. And things seem to be opening. Yes, I know that closed venues, there's still 50 people. But what about outdoor venues for somebody like yourself? Would you consider that, you know, if a pub had a garden or something, maybe you could do outdoor stuff?
Yes, I think that would actually be awesome because then you can get more people. If it's an open space, you can space more people out. You know, I think that would actually be better than having indoor events, because in indoor events, then you're limited to how many people. And if it's out there and the space is big enough, you'll be able to draw a good crowd. And that's actually an awesome idea. You know, I never thought of that.
I should be your business manager.
Outside events. Yeah, you should be. You should be that. That sounds awesome.
We'll chat about this afterwards. Once I've hit the off button.
Do that. You must.
No, because I've always wondered, if you look at a venue that you could play before, where it's seated maybe 200-300 people. Now you can only have 50 people, and there's got to be like 2 or 3 seats between each person, which means that your eyes have to roam all over the place to try and make contact with your audience. Because that, again, is the mark of a good stand-up, I think, is that you can make the audience believe that you're talking to them or to a specific person in the audience who all of a sudden can relate to stuff that you're talking about.
Sure. What eye contact is.
Yeah. Is there comedy in places like Eldo's and Alex and Soweto? Are there clubs there that are genuine comedy clubs, not shebeens or pubs that just have comedians working there?
No, there's no clubs that I know of.
Nothing.
People will just have events at venues. Yeah, but no ongoing clubs.
Yeah. I've always wondered about that, because South Africa, with the exception of Parker's at Monte Casino, there are no real comedy venues. If you look at a place like New York or any major city in America, they've got dozens of pure comedy clubs where you can go late at night and see people as famous as Jerry Seinfeld doing a midnight set of 3 or 4 minutes because he's trying out new material. And I know when I was in Nashville, I went to a club there and I saw some crappy comedians. I actually thought about asking if I could do an open mic set. But that's pure comedy, and people go there knowing it's not a bar and then you've got to step up on stage and draw the audience away from their drink and their burgers type of thing, which must be difficult.
Yeah, the people are coming for comedy.
Yeah. I mean, there was a place years ago as well. I used to work for food because I was single in those days and I didn't feel like cooking. So I said to the owner, I will do comedy if you feed me at night. But it was an awkward room. And again, I don't know if you've played rooms like this, which are not designed for comedy, but they put a mic stand between like an eating area and a bar. So you've got people in front and behind you, and you don't know which way to turn. The people in front of you are having a blast. The people at the bar, you can hear them going, "Oh, I wish he'd shut up. Really, I came here to drink, not to listen to crappy comedy."
Yeah, no, I performed in places like that already. I performed in people's lounges already, you know.
Really?
There's other people sitting in the kitchen and other people sitting outside, and I'm in the lounge. Others are watching through the window. I've done those kind of gigs already, you know.
What was
you
that
perform
like?
in all kinds of places in Europe.
What was that like? Performing in somebody's lounge?
It was weird at first, you know, but when the people start laughing and they're having fun, then you actually accept it. Okay, this is cool. But when you arrive there and you see where the stage is, like there's no stage really. It's just like you say, it's a mic in the middle of the room. You know, people are sitting around you. There's people standing in the kitchen. There's people standing outside because there's not enough space inside, and you perform. It feels weird when you're starting out, but when you get the laughs, you actually enjoy it, and it's nice.
I think the worst space I performed in was a boardroom. It was a corporate, but I thought it was for the whole company. And I arrived there, and it was only for the management. There were 5 people in the room, sitting
and you
around
had to perform for the 5.
For the 5, and they were sitting at a boardroom table. And I walk in, and there's no stage. There's just no microphone. It's nothing. And you sort of walk around the table, going, "This is really weird."
But how did that go?
Again, like you said, the moment you get your first laugh, then you can sort of judge the room, and based on whatever gag you told, if you've got a set that works around that, then well and good, you can do that. But it's when that first gag takes a long time to come, and you sort of trying every opening you've ever used when you've stood up on a stage, going, "Please let one line just land properly." And then we can go from there.
Yeah. And I find it that it's more, for me, it's more daunting to act or to perform to a few people than to perform to many. When I perform, I can go to Soweto Theatre and perform in front of 2,000, 3,000 people. That's fun, you know, that I'm not as nervous, you know. Yeah. Because I know that a lot of people, someone is gonna laugh at my jokes. But when it's like 3-4 people, you know, you think, hey, if one person only laughs, it's gonna be too little. You know what I'm saying?
That's when you want to come with a laugh track on your phone, so that if it doesn't work, you just take out your phone and you can hold it to the mic and you go, "Listen, you can just sit there and drink. I'll do the set and I'll make my own laughs. End of story. I don't need you for anything." But you're right, Jermaine. The small audiences are really, really tough because, as we've said before, you can pick on individuals. If you've played somewhere that's 2,000-3,000 people, you can't really, although I did it at Carnival City, 3,500 people. The only guy that I pick on in that audience happens to be my sister-in-law's boss, who on Monday morning said to her, this was a Saturday evening, Monday morning, he said, "You know what happened to me on Saturday? Your brother-in-law picked on me." And I got a phone call from her going, "What the hell did you do to him?" And it was a silly gag, and he played along, and she was more upset than he was. I think, and again, I'm going to ask you the question, if you pick on somebody in the crowd, don't you find that they believe that they're now part of the entertainment, and they will play along with you because they believe that you've singled them out because they were funny, not because they were making you laugh?
Yes, no, that every time I picked on someone, they actually came to me afterwards and say, "Hey, thank you for including me." You know, no matter what I said, whether it was something that's supposed to be offensive, you know, or that someone else would find offensive. But I've always had people come up to me. The people I pick on, they'll always come up to me and say, they enjoy that. They're glad they were part of the set, you know.
Yeah. Would you like to work cruise ships?
Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to. I've seen, was it Lindsay? I forget her name now. Deep Fried Man, I think also. I watched the show on TV where they were doing a cruise ship. I'd love to do that.
It's a tough life.
That will be awesome. But I need to get my passport right first. I don't have a passport yet.
No, then you better listen. When lockdown opens, Jermaine, you must be ready to perform anywhere. At the
I'm getting my passport ready.
Good, because at the drop of a hat, if they phone you from Dubai and go, "Get here now," then you must say, "Yes, please. I'm already at the airport. I'm just waiting for you to send me the ticket." That's all. How do you go about preparing for a show? How do you sort of sit down and go, okay, I have to write jokes? Or do they just, you go, well, this happened to me this week, so let me see how I can work that in, or I remember when type of
thing? Normally, I would prepare a set. I would write a set and then rehearse the set in front of the mirror, like repeatedly, you know. And what I'll also do is, sometimes especially if there's a lot of material that's made up, you know, that hasn't that much truth to it, you know, that are just sucked out of thin air. Those kind of sets, I would record it on my phone and then put in my ear sets in and then listen to it over and over, you know, so then I can remember it nicely. And then, before the show, I'll just go through rehearsing the set over and over until I get, especially if it's the first time I'm doing a set.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. But once I've done a set a couple of times and I know the set, then all I need to do is just remember which set I want to do. Just remember the title of the set I want to do and put them in that order.
Yeah.
If I'm maybe doing 15 minutes or 20 minutes, then I'll choose maybe a 5-minute set, a 10-minute set, and another 5-minute set. And then just remember in which order I should put them, you know. And then, get on stage and do it.
Because I think this is another thing people don't realize is that, you know, comedians, like you were saying about open mic, you've got 5 minutes. And people think, 5 minutes, it goes like that. No, 5 minutes can be an hour, it can be a week. If it's not working, that 5 minutes is the longest 5 minutes of your life.
Of your life. That's the truth. That is the truth there. They think 5 minutes is short. It's actually very long when you're killing it. Then it seems too short because now you're already on you gain momentum kind of. When you just get to the 5-minute mark, it's over, you know, kind of thing.
And also, I suppose if you have a good set and you come off stage and the comedians are clapping and laughing backstage, then you also know that one worked. I must put it away. When I started, my daughter used to come because she lived with me. And she used to come to a lot of my gigs, and she knew if I was having a good gig or a bad gig, because I don't swear on stage. But if I did, then she knew that I was having a bad set because I was now using bad language to fill in the gaps. And often, and you know, if you've gone off at a tangent from a set you've planned, and in your head you go, this is working, but I'll never remember it. I used to shout out at her, make notes, because I'm going to forget this.
From stage.
From stage. She never did. Bitch. No, I love it.
And that's why I think it's important for us sometimes as stand-up comedians to record yourself on stage as much as possible. In fact, every opportunity you can get, because sometimes that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Like you said, you come prepared. And it's happened to me where I come prepared to do this 10-minute set. But something happens either before I get on stage or while I'm on stage in the audience, something happens or something gets said between me and an audience member. And I forget all about my set, you know. Then I'm doing this is like brand new material now. You know, this is just like off the cuff, spur of the moment kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And if I didn't record it, like you say, I won't remember it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So if you record it, then at least you got something to go back on and say, okay, that worked. I can use that again some way, you know.
What you don't want to have happen is what happened to Richie Haven at the opening of Woodstock. He was meant to do 15 minutes and he ended up doing 3 hours because they couldn't get the next act in because of the rain. and they had to wait for a helicopter to drop Act 2 off. And they just kept saying to him, keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. And eventually he ran out of material. I had the pleasure of interviewing him years later. And he said to me, watch my set. It just kept, I ran out of stuff. Eventually, the last song he sang was a nursery rhyme that his granny had sung to him. That's all he could remember. He'd played everything else. He'd broken strings on stage and repaired them while he was playing. Became his signature thing. But can you imagine? So, like, somebody, you get to Joe Parker's, for instance. Joe says, listen, Jermaine, I'd like you to do 15 minutes, and you go, cool. You step on stage, and all of a sudden you see Joe holding up a sign going, next act's not here. Just keep going. Just keep going. And so that goes, and 15 minutes becomes 20, becomes half an hour. 45 minutes later, Jermaine is still talking. Have you got enough material to cover it, Jermaine?
If he leaves me there for, I would say for an hour and a half, I'll be able to do it.
Okay. After that, you're in unknown territory.
Yeah, from my one-man shows that I've done before, I've got material I can use from there,
Yeah.
But 3 hours is pushing it a bit.
Jermaine, if people want to, as we wrap up now, and thank you so much for your time, really and truly, it's been great chatting.
No, thank you for having me. And just for the audience out there, for whoever's listening, this is my very first Zoom chat with David Mattroos.
I told you I'd be gentle with you. Have I been?
You have been. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this thoroughly, honestly.
Jermaine, for people who are watching this and want to follow you now, I take it the usual social medias where they can find you. And do you have a website that they can book you through if that's what they're looking for?
I'll be honest with you, David. When it comes to all these social media and all these tags and hashtags and handles, and I don't know all these things. I'm not gonna lie. I've got someone that handles all that for me, that manages my social media.
Right.
But Jermaine, if they search for Jermaine Mattroos on Facebook, that's my personal. But everything is linked to that. So Jermaine, Mattroos. I'm the only one in the world. They will find me there, and they find everything about me there and what's coming in the future and what I'm working on here.
Jermaine, thank you for being my In Conversation guest with today. I wish you all the best going forward, and I hope to see you on a stage live in the not too distant future.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate this. I hope